Several new developments in South Suburban Dalton today. First, the state comptroller has suspended some payments to the village because it has failed to follow the law by providing financial.
Tiffany Henyard, who has dubbed herself the super mayor of Dalton, has become a divisive figure, drawing criticism for her controversial leadership style. Instead of providing the steady governance expected of a local official, her tenure has been marked by tension with the Dalton City Council, questionable spending habits, and a public image more akin to a celebrity than a civil servant. Recent allegations suggest Henyard may be using her influence over the police force to target critics, with rumors even hinting at potential arrests of council members. Her rapid ascent from mayor to what some now label as the Dalton dictator raises serious questions about her leadership and its impact on the town's future.
Appointment. That's what the trustees I talked to are calling this. They say the news took them by surprise, and now they're talking to
Tiffany Henyard, elected mayor of Dalton, a modest suburb of Chicago in 2021, entered office with ambitious promises of transformative leadership. She positioned herself as a catalyst for change, vowing to revitalize the struggling community. However, her tenure has quickly become mired in controversy, raising questions about whether she is truly working to uplift Dalton or using her position for personal gain. Mounting scandals paint a picture of an administration plagued by discord, mistrust, and allegations of abuse of power. One of the most contentious accusations against Henyard is her alleged misuse of Dalton's police force as her personal security detail, a move critics claim crosses ethical boundaries and fuels fears of authoritarianism. Instead of promoting transparency and unity, Henyard is accused of silencing dissent and fostering a climate of intimidation, where residents and critics feel reluctant to speak out. This environment has unfolded like a political drama, rife with allegations of defiance, fierce opposition, and personal ambition, leaving many concerned about Dalton's future under her leadership. Henyard's approach has been marked by a departure from traditional governance. While she promised bold actions to address the town's socioeconomic challenges, her administration has instead been defined by public disputes, allegations of mismanagement, and a lack of tangible progress. Increasingly, residents perceive her focus to be more on consolidating power than on addressing the town's pressing needs. Her critics describe her leadership style as autocratic, with reports of local law enforcement being leveraged to serve personal agendas, further intensifying fears of unchecked authority. These concerns have been raised at community meetings, only to be met with apparent disdain and a lack of accountability, deepening the divide between Henyard and the people she serves. At the heart of this conflict are competing narratives. Henyard's supporters see her as a resilient leader, steadfast in her vision for Dalton despite relentless opposition. They argue that she is misunderstood and unfairly targeted. Conversely, her detractors view her actions as prioritizing control and optics over meaningful collaboration and transparency. Allegations of misusing public resources, particularly through the alleged mismanagement of the police department, have only fueled discontent, portraying a leader increasingly detached from the community's needs. Critics argue that Henyard's governance undermines democratic principles, reflecting self-interest over public service. Stories of high-profile expenditures and decisions that neglect the town's most pressing challenges have widened the gap between her public image and residents' lived experiences. In a town that urgently requires transparent and equitable leadership to address systemic issues, skepticism about Henyard's priorities continues to grow. The turmoil in Dalton has evolved into more than a political battle. It is a test of representation and accountability. Allegations of misusing municipal resources, resisting oversight, and suppressing dissent highlight a leadership approach that appears at odds with the community's expectations. Frustrated residents, who once hoped for a positive change, are increasingly vocal in meetings and public statements, demanding a shift in governance. Despite mounting opposition, Henyard remains defiant, dismissing criticism as politically motivated attacks. However, her dismissive stance has only deepened the perception that she prioritizes maintaining power over serving the community. As tensions escalate, the future of her leadership remains uncertain. A town already grappling with significant challenges, the stakes have never been higher. The resolution of this political drama will not only determine Henyard's fate, but also shape the town's ability to overcome its struggles and find a path toward effective, inclusive governance. Residents are left to wonder, can their mayor prioritize the community's needs, or will personal ambitions continue to overshadow her leadership?
Is wrong, and there's a time to hold people responsible.
The atmosphere at Dalton's town hall meetings has grown increasingly charged under Mayor Tiffany Henyard's leadership. Once a space for addressing community concerns, these meetings have transformed into contentious arenas rife with drama and power struggles. While some residents attend seeking solutions to urgent issues, others are drawn by the spectacle, anticipating the confrontations that have become a hallmark of Henyard's tenure. Witnesses describe a troubling dynamic. Henyard often arrives flanked by police officers, allegedly acting as her personal security detail, reinforcing accusations that her leadership is heavy-handed and autocratic. Henyard's intolerance for criticism has deepened divisions in Dalton's political landscape. Her responses to opposition have fueled claims that her leadership prioritizes self-preservation over collaboration or community progress. During a recent Facebook Live broadcast, Henyard escalated tensions by accusing certain council members of participating in a money grab conspiracy and hinting at potential legal action. This accusation has added complexity to her embattled administration, portraying a mayor increasingly at odds with both the public and her colleagues in local government. Reports have surfaced alleging that Henyard has used public resources, including taxpayer-funded police officers, to surveil her perceived adversaries. Allegedly, she has directed law enforcement to track council members critical of her policies, a move widely seen as an effort to intimidate and suppress dissent. This alleged misuse of power has sparked outrage among residents, who view it as a betrayal of democratic principles and an abuse of public trust. Critics argue that these actions reflect a troubling pattern of Henyard prioritizing personal vendettas over the collective good of Dalton. Tensions between Henyard and the community have turned town hall meetings into battlegrounds, with accusations of misconduct dominating the discourse. These gatherings increasingly spotlight the growing rift between Henyard and the residents she was elected to serve. Insiders claim that Henyard has instructed the police to monitor council members who oppose her, suggesting a calculated effort to silence dissent and consolidate power. Particularly alarming are allegations that Henyard directed Robert Collins, Dalton's former chief of police, to target specific individuals for political gain. If proven, such actions would represent a grave abuse of authority, further eroding trust in her administration. For many in Dalton, these alleged tactics go beyond political squabbles, striking at the heart of democratic governance. Residents and council members alike have expressed frustration, feeling their voices are being systematically silenced by an administration unwilling to tolerate dissent. Critics argue that Henyard's actions betray the principles of transparency, fairness, and accountability, values essential to sustaining trust in a small community like Dalton. Posted on Dalton.com, Jen R's declaration posted by adult. As Dalton's political turmoil intensifies, the stakes for the town's future grow higher. Henyard's leadership style, described by opponents as authoritarian and dismissive, has polarized the community. Calls for change have grown louder, with many arguing that her aggressive tactics represent a fundamental betrayal of the trust placed in her as an elected official. This crisis of leadership has ignited widespread indignation and demands for accountability, raising urgent questions about Dalton's direction and Henyard's legacy. Whether the town will experience a leadership shift remains uncertain, but the events unfolding under Henyard's tenure are certain to leave a lasting impact on Dalton's governance and community trust.
Tiffany Henyard's landlord, and she says she came to this Thornton Township meeting Tuesday night hoping to get paid.
The controversies surrounding Mayor Tiffany Henyard's leadership have become a central issue in Dalton, with allegations of financial mismanagement pushing the town into a precarious economic position. Accusations of excessive spending and questionable priorities have dominated local discourse, painting Henyard as a leader more concerned with personal extravagance than fiscal responsibility. These concerns were underscored by an investigation led by Lori Lightfoot, Chicago's former mayor, who assessed Dalton's financial state. The findings were alarming. Under Henyard's leadership, the town's general fund balance plummeted from a $561 million surplus to a $365 million deficit by May 2024. This dramatic financial downturn has left residents and critics asking a pressing question. Where did the money go? The investigation suggests that funds intended for public services and infrastructure improvements were instead funneled into expenditures seen as frivolous or self-serving. Lavish events, luxury travel, and personal projects are among the controversial expenses that have provided little tangible benefit to the broader community. This perceived misuse of resources has fueled widespread mistrust, with many residents believing their leadership prioritizes optics and self-promotion over the town's pressing needs. As Dalton's financial health deteriorates, the patience of its citizens has worn thin. Public outrage has grown, exacerbated by Henyard's reputation for heavy-handed governance and her alleged suppression of criticism. Despite mounting discontent, Henyard has consistently denied wrongdoing, shifting blame onto external forces or political opponents. However, these defenses have done little to quell the frustration of constituents who feel betrayed by their leadership. The financial crisis has had real and immediate consequences for Dalton's community. Budget cuts and resource shortages have delayed critical infrastructure projects and reduced essential public services, further deepening the divide between Henyard's administration and the residents she was elected to serve. At town hall meetings and public forums, citizens have increasingly demanded transparency and accountability, questioning the priorities and motives behind the mayor's decisions. Compounding these concerns are allegations that Henyard's spending is not merely reckless, but strategically designed to consolidate power. Critics argue that municipal funds have been used for events and initiatives aimed at securing political support from specific groups, even as broader community backing continues to erode. This narrative casts Henyard's financial decisions as more about personal preservation than effective governance, reinforcing perceptions of a leadership focused on self-interest. As Dalton grapples with its financial challenges, the controversies surrounding Henyard's tenure have come to symbolize a broader crisis of trust and governance. What began as a series of scandals has evolved into a cautionary tale of unchecked authority and misplaced priorities. The town now stands at a crossroads, confronting not only immediate economic pressures, but also the long-term implications of leadership that many believe has failed to uphold public trust. In response, Dalton's residents have begun to organize, voicing their dissatisfaction through petitions, demonstrations, and grassroots campaigns. This growing activism represents a significant challenge to Henyard's authority, signaling a collective refusal to accept the status quo. Whether Henyard can navigate this mounting opposition and salvage her political career, or whether Dalton will seek new leadership, remains uncertain. What is clear is that the town's future hangs in the balance, with its citizens demanding a government that prioritizes their needs over personal ambition.